guys, and welcome back to my channel where we spill tea left, right, and everywhere in between. Let's talk about everything that is going on with DEFNOODLES. DEFNOODLES, or Dennis, started his YouTube career off mainly doing something similar to commentary content before he became the household name in the drama community. A lot of Dennis's followers came to rely on him to deliver the hottest tea and whathaps with celebrity and influencer drama. Now, Dennis maintains that the DEFNOODLES Irrelevant News channel was always meant to be taken as satirical, which maybe I could see being true, at least at the start of this for him, but it certainly didn't remain a joke, at least not to the majority of his audience. He even had some fans within the drama channel circle.
I liked Dennis. I liked what he was doing. I liked his commentary. I thought he really had something, you know? I mean, I sat there and watched him and I thought, like, this guy is like, could be like the next, I don't know, like late night guy kind of thing.
Dennis was clearly on the internet at all times of the day and was usually one of the first, if not the first channel to report on things that were happening. And the idea that intended this to all be a joke kind of flies out the window when you consider that he frequently just covered the news without anything resembling a punchline or even a jab at pop culture or mainstream celebrity media. Whether he became the joke that he was trying to make is unclear, but it is clear if it was a joke, it didn't land, much like the rest of his comedic career that we are seeing unfold. But we will get to that in just a second. So Dennis seemed to become a rather credible source for tea and drama, even frequently being mentioned on the H3 podcast as their site for a topic that they'd cover. Ethan clearly became fond of Dennis and even had him come on the show as a guest host for the spoof Steamy Awards.
The one, the only, Dennis DEFNOODLES!
What?
There you go. Welcome,
Hello.
Def.
Well, thank you for having me. This is crazy.
It's an honor to be sitting here with you today.
Arguably, a main event that began this internet opinion shift for Dennis was when he came for another commentary creator, Papa Gut, claiming that he looked like a P-word. This situation is cold tea, but just as a refresher for you, Dennis and Papa Gut kind of went back and forth online with debates, but it was seemingly dropped before Dennis decided to liken Papa Gut's appearance to that of a predator. Dennis's reasoning, if you want to call it that, behind this disgusting insult was that Papa Gut made a tasteless joke that went viral on TikTok. Papa Gut was calling out a completely different creator by the name of Andres Lopez, who had been exposed for sleeping with an underage girl of just 14 years old. Dennis tweeted, "Motherfucker got famous on TikTok for joking about fucking 14-year-old girls, then gets offended someone jokes about him. But, you know, he was right. I shouldn't have said that. I should have instead said he makes himself so small in his videos to hide the fact that he looks like a pedophile." Papa Gut, who has spoken about how regretful he is to have made that joke many times, defended himself by tweeting, "The joke was, if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed. Thank you very much, Andres Lopez, for the advice. It was a satirical call-out since he allegedly slept with a 14-year-old. It's a joke I've condemned multiple times, but that person isn't interested in honesty." Papa Gut also had an emotional response to this while streaming.
And your attempt to try to deplatform me after a really bad f***ing joke that I never should have made with good intentions, after a year of doing my best to operate in the best capacity to educate people, but also make sure that I don't come off in a way that puts people off, because I want people to listen to the message.
For some additional context to this as well, Papa Gut is a creator that uses his platform to deplatform predators and call out or talk about predatory behaviors. He does this knowing that he will not get as many views as other creators, thus making less money than other creators, and whether you are a fan of his or you're unaware of him, what he does with his platform is a commendable thing. What's more, he has even more of a personal tie to these subjects because his wife was R-worded, so being told that he looks like a predator probably hits him pretty deep.
I just put in a situation where I feel like I just have to bare my entire fucking soul, and you're going to listen to this and you're going to laugh and you're going to think it's funny. But you want to know what, Dennis? It's not funny. It's just not funny.
This situation just got worse and worse, and Dennis stood his ground saying that he is a comedian and it was just a joke, and in my opinion, that excuse only goes so far and sometimes it's just not okay. Papa Gut tweeted, "I'm sorry for my last tweet suggesting Dennis should be punished in some capacity for slandering me. I was actually joking, but that wasn't made clear because I'm not funny at all. I will do better by adding comedian to my profile." To which Dennis responded, "Nobody is slandering you, big puss. Saying you look like a pedo doesn't mean you're an actual pedo. I can say you look like a fire extinguisher and it doesn't mean you're an actual fire extinguisher." Geez, these low IQ morons want to comment on stuff without even understanding language. In fairness, Dennis was just saying that he looked like that, but the comparison of the fire extinguisher thing is stupid because people cannot be fire extinguishers, but they can be P-words. And also, the latter is a much more detrimental accusation than that of an inanimate object. Also, Dennis literally tagged the FBI during all of this, which some could say is a lot more serious than throwing jabs at someone for what they look like. People came for Dennis during this whole mess as well by pointing out the fact that Dennis is currently suing Keemstar for a very similar situation. Dennis didn't let that go unaddressed and tweeted saying, "You're suing someone and doing the same thing. 1. My bio says comedian. 2. Since 2019, I've said I covered news as joke and wasn't meant to be taken seriously. And 3. Saying someone looks like a pedo isn't an accusation, especially when they objectively look like a pedo. Comedian being in your bio is not an explanation or a point for anything. If someone put fire extinguisher in their bio, does it make them a fire extinguisher?" And just as a cherry on top of this refresher for you guys, Dennis also took a screenshot of Papa Gut crying about this, put it on a t-shirt, and sold it as merch. And he accused Papa Gut of just doing what he does for clout.
He's a clout goblin. In order to be a clout goblin, yeah, that's what you got to do. That's how you get internet points, you know? That's how you get the W. Go and use somebody else, weaponize somebody else's assault, and then go and cry about it on the internet. That's how you get famous.
Certainly, the downfall of DEFNOODLES did not happen overnight, especially if you weren't a fan prior, but honestly, for the rest that were fans, this was all rather surprising. Dennis's defenses always included the mention of him being a comedian and that his news channel was just a joke and that was never meant to be taken seriously, and that he has been wanting to get out of the drama channel world for some time, and now is that time for him. Anyone else may have also noticed that for a few weeks there, Dennis was clickbaiting on an ungodly level, and in my opinion, that might have been because he knew he was about to change over to the comedic world full time and was either just over being truthful with the headlines or he was attempting to chase off the followers that were only there for the tea. Because as I said, even though he says his channel was never meant to be taken seriously as a drama source, his audience was really only there for the drama and not for Dennis. I hate to say it, people were not interested in him as a person, but rather the content that he was putting out. And while I will say he should be partially proud of the work that he did, as I know it took a lot of dedication to be the first to post on almost everything, it also backlashed from time to time as he didn't allow stories to develop, and often he would report wrong information. But since deciding to make the content shift to comedy, Dennis has opened a comedy club in LA and has hosted 2 roasts as of today when making this video. And the most recent one, legit insane. The first one, the cringiest thing I've ever seen. The jokes were high school level, you look like a whatever, and literally just not funny. But in addition to that, the number of technical difficulties they faced made the whole thing feel like a joke itself, but not in a good way. Anyway, first cringy roast aside, Dennis came back and did another one, and this one came with a possible assault charge. Before the event took place, he uploaded a video titled "My Life Has Been Threatened," which showed a man show up outside the comedy club and yell about coming in to tour the venue and he was going to be on stage the next night. Dennis claims that he shot this video because he was advised to by his people, so there was a clear paper trail of events, just in case something actually did happen. Now, I might be wrong here, but that just sounds like BS to me. Considering there was footage of this, I'm not sure why a lawyer or any law professional would recommend also uploading a video to YouTube talking about it. And throughout this whole video, Dennis keeps saying that he's not scared and is more interested in keeping his staff and the guests for the event safe. And okay, fair enough. But the reason that I'm mentioning this is because the ego on Dennis is swelling day by day, and I think this is just another example of that. It's fine to be uncomfortable with someone showing up at your spot acting all crazy. You don't need to be this tough guy, especially when it's this transparent. That's neither here nor there, but the main point is that Dennis felt the need to have more security at this event just in case something got out of hand, which it kind of did. Another creator called Salvo Pancakes showed up to the roast with a bunch of friends and got the crowd to chant "fuck deaf noodles" many different times throughout the show. Dennis had called out to anyone that wanted to come to that roast, saying "pull up or shut up," and I guess Salvo decided to do just that.
You either sit down and you act fucking nice until you get to your part.
While you might think that Dennis loved this and took this as an opportunity to have an actual roast with someone, it really just didn't go that way and the entire thing flopped. By the time that Salvo actually got on stage to have his turn, he didn't do much himself in ways of comedic roasting and just called Dennis out for lying about his age.
LARPer that is playing the Joe Rogan experience with the fake Joe Rogan, get on the podcast, act like they're real comedians. I'm not gonna do that, so I'm gonna monologue for about an hour about how fucking pathetic this grown man really is.
And for those of you who missed that, Dennis had been on record numerous times saying that he was in his 20s. Actually, I believe if you Google it, it still now will say the same thing. But it was revealed recently that Dennis is actually 37 years old. He says that he fabricated his age because he is a, quote, actor, and that is a common thing to do. My opinion on his lying and his age is kind of whatever, but I do look at this Deaf Noodles era with different eyes now. But anyway, Salvo threw some rather soft jabs verbally at Dennis while on stage, and considering the crowd was lit up with chants with Salvo prior to all of this, you'd think that he would have more support while he was saying his piece. But as it turns out, the audience actually kind of fought back.
Dennis Noodles, Dennis Feitosa, is a 40-year-old man. No, he's not. He lied about his age. He's a 40-year-old man that is so... He's a 40-year-old man. He's a 40-year-old man.
So it is speculated by Salvo as well that Salvo's friends were removed quietly and then Dennis's friends were put in their place during this. Hence the bizarre flip in opinion within the crowd. Dennis denies this and responded to one person on this topic who said, "You mean how you emptied all Salvo's fans, silently pulled yours in, and began booing him the second you gave him the mic after putting him on your ad? Pull up or shut up? Put the coke down." Dennis said, "This never happened. If you watch the stream, you see the exact moment Slavo Mantitty's cake was taken out by security. His 20 friends left. I had 30 of my people there. They rightfully heckled him when he said his corny monologue. I got heckled for 90 minutes. Dude couldn't take 3. While I don't know for sure whether that actually did happen or not, it does seem kind of bizarre that Salvo had all the support for chanting "fuck deaf noodles" prior to his take to the stage, only for it to flip another way once he was up there roasting Dennis. Although maybe another thing to consider could be that there were a number of people in the crowd just there for a roast, and as I understand, roast comedy comes with a lot of heckling. So maybe that was just their way of joining in. Regardless, roast number 2 for Dennis was another cringy, weird kind of half flop. I mean, it's not a full flop because everyone is talking about it now and he's throwing another one too. So, I mean, maybe this is exactly what he wants. But Salvo doesn't seem too happy, and he expressed as much during a live immediately after being kicked out of the roast.
Pull up or shut up, right, Dennis? I got there. I waited in that shitty closet. Assaulted twice. Dennis Feitosa, Deaf Noodles pushed me. We're pressing charges on Deaf Noodles.
And even though Dennis was calling for people to come roast him, I guess he wanted Salvo out of there.
I didn't even get a chance to speak, and he had a security guard carry me off the stage. And the security guard specifically told me he was told to do so. So Dennis Noodles, pull up or shut up. You had this big organized plan to silence me and not let me talk.
Dennis is saying that Salvo was attempting to incite a riot, and he also tweeted thanking people who had gotten footage of what's happening, even calling it evidence. But Salvo might be taking this a step further, and a strange and surprising kind of lawsuit love triangle might be happening here.
I'm gonna sue you with the best lawyers Keemstar provides. And we're taking that fucking office from you. And you're gonna move back to Brazil in your third world favela hut where you and your fucking mush brain papa live.
I don't know Salvo all that well, maybe he's joking, but Keemstar hates Dennis, and that's no secret. So I'm sure if there's a way to do something like that to him, Keem would be down. And speaking of taking Dennis down, he now reckons that other creators are trying to get him deplatformed, so he started a Patreon where his followers and fans can go support him there. I'm not sure if Dennis is being satirical again, but he seemingly thinks that these roasts are going off without a hitch and are just literally amazing, even calling them history being made. So I'm not sure if he's just unhinged at this point or just so wants this comedic path to happen for him that he's pushing it no matter what. And I have to say, I would support this content shift for Dennis if it wasn't for the arrogant, I know better than everyone attitude. He claims to have been doing this for years and years. So if that's true, why aren't the jokes funny? People are also wondering why Ethan Klein is remaining so quiet on all of this. And in my opinion, as Ethan has said before that they're friends, Ethan doesn't want to say anything because he knows Dennis is in the wrong. Ethan is an opinionated person, everyone knows that, and he has no problem speaking out on things when he disagrees or when he agrees. So his silence is really all we need to know about his opinion on all of this currently. Well, since that, Dennis has been aggressively tweeting in all caps at basically anyone who has a bad word to say about him, especially drama YouTuber Nicholas Diorio. The back and forth has been lengthy, but more interestingly is how Dennis has been reacting. It's kind of giving Kanye West. Dennis has been saying things like, "What I actually said is that I have zero interest in talking to lowlives like you. I talk to plenty of people. I was on YOLO Swag Studios podcast. I'm also going on Italian Pepsi Man's podcast soon. You're a fucking loser who sucks my dick content. Why should I talk to you? Keep sucking my dick. It's evident you love it. This is the way I speak to people like you who suck my dick for content. I have no clout to give, and here you are, obsessed with my dick. You can't go a single day without thinking about my dick. You fantasize about my dick in your basement and touch yourself hoping to feel something." Almost as if he doesn't realize that everyone can see what he's saying. He recycles the same immature and unfunny dick humor that simply just isn't landing. Considering Dennis claims he has professionally studied comedy for years, I don't understand where the jokes are. And it's clear that Dennis is loving the attention, tweeting that he was trending again, so whether you hate his attempt at comedy or not, he is getting attention, and that's exactly what he wants right now. Dennis had also been posting a lot about a Vegas show that he was apparently meant to be in that supposedly was cancelled due to the distaste that people were expressing for him. One user tweeted asking Dennis, "Moron, can you please explain how you just McBroomed everyone selling tickets to a show that never existed in Vegas tonight?" Dennis promptly responded saying, "They cancelled the whole show because they got over 300 calls from incels all around the world clenching their buttholes about me performing. Don't worry though, I'll be back." Interestingly though, or should I say maybe suspiciously, the tickets that Dennis were promoting went to Eventbrite, the ticket sale site, and allegedly the comedy club that he was supposed to be at for this event doesn't use Eventbrite for ticket sales. What's more, another YouTuber by the name of Augie supposedly called the venue and checked in about this whole thing.
LA Comedy Club.
Yo, what's up? So I'm calling to ask if I heard this guy Dennis Feitosa was performing tonight at 11:30, but I clicked on the Eventbrite link to buy tickets and it says the event is unavailable.
Yeah, he's not performing. I've never heard of the guy.
You've never heard of the guy? That's weird because he's claiming on his social media account with 100,000 followers that he was performing tonight. He's been hyping up this event and tweeting out tickets and stuff, so I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, I'm confused myself. I've gotten like 2 calls about this guy. I've never heard of him.
Truly bizarre, but let's not be ignorant to the possibility, there is a chance that this call is fake. I'm not accusing Augie of being disingenuous, but we always try and get all the facts before speaking in absolutes here, so let's just be open to that chance. But really, it's not looking great, right? Shortly after all of this was exposed, Dennis deleted the tweets in reference to the Las Vegas show. Even more sus, right? Even if the event was cancelled due to the alleged 300 calls that the venue received from what Dennis called incels, that wouldn't explain how the venue manager or owner or whatever had never heard of Dennis. Surely he would just say that his set was cancelled, no? And the venue never announced this cancellation, which venues tend to do. Dennis's real personality keeps showing itself more and more these days, and not unlike any downfall of celebrities or influencers, people often come out of the woodwork with stories of their own to share. Dennis's ex-assistant, Tiana, spoke out and recently saying that the work environment had forced her to quit working for that boss, who she also described as crazy.
Lost. in the middle of the fucking desert. I just realized we came really awfully prepared for this. I have 1 bottle of water that I bought at the airport. That's what we have. We have no food. Nothing else. Starting to feel like a bad idea.
Honestly, what is with the mic in the car? Tiana told the story about the Burning Man trip and said that Dennis was so unprepared that they ended up sleeping in the car, had no water or food, and the festival does not sell stuff like that. A quick Google search would have explained that information to him, but he didn't even bother preparing and even got them lost in the desert at one point. Dennis addressed everything in a recent stream he did, and specifically in regards to the Las Vegas event, he says that he did not list it on Eventbrite and was not responsible for it.
I had no responsibility over the tickets. I was just told to share it and promote it. Anybody who purchased tickets for that Saturday show in Las Vegas, I will personally refund you. Send me evidence, send me a receipt, send me your bank statement.
He gives a play-by-play of how he got involved in the Vegas show to begin with and explains that another comic he met recently a couple of times that he was friendly with invited him to the show. They basically headed out immediately after finishing things up for the roast. So they got to the hotel room that was apparently comped as Dennis was going to be in the show, and then the guy sends him a link for Eventbrite and tells him to promote it.
I woke up around 10 and I went to the gym. I start seeing people saying like on Twitter that they're like calling the club and this and that. And I'm like, people are trying to create drama even from this, right?
In addition to the link apparently not working and people checking in with the venue, Dennis says that people were also calling the venue with more aggressive intentions.
His agent called him complaining about me being on the show because they were getting calls. The club was getting calls that I assaulted someone and that I shouldn't be on the show. This is what he's telling me that his agent is telling him.
So he's basically saying that everyone was trying to get him off of this Vegas show because of what happened at that roast.
There he gets another call and he says that the entire show got canceled because of the phone calls, because he kept getting calls. He said that at that point they got 10 calls or something.
Per this guy's agent's request, Dennis deleted all of the posts and tweets tied to this Vegas event. He even got a screen recording of this deletion to provide for the agent in an attempt to keep this guy's representation with the agent active. So after a few hours of basically just hanging out with this guy and his girlfriend, the guy says that he wants to get Dennis on a different stage and made some calls to get that going. He told him another spot was secured for him and he'd bring Dennis on stage with him to, quote, prove the haters wrong.
He comes back and he says, no, they called this club too and they don't want you to perform here. They said you're blacklisted in Vegas, right? And I was like, fuck.
What?
Yeah, I was like, fuck. So he said, I'm going to walk you around and we'll go to the front and I'll introduce you to the hostess and you can start building a relationship.
So really, the suspicious behavior is coming from basically everybody involved in this right now. Dennis and this guy that promised him these shows. It's just really weird, right? During the stream, Dennis also explains a little bit about the Salvo situation and he says that he wanted to give a YouTuber a shot to see what he had. But then when he got Salvo on the stage, he didn't have any jokes and he just couldn't have someone like that be there. He says be professional or you'll basically get kicked out. Def also addressed the Tiana situation, saying that 90% of what she said was a lie and he is taking this up with legal counsel now.
This is a legal situation now because she has gone out of her way to slander me and to defame me and to essentially misrepresent something, which is actually on video. So it's actually really insane that she would go to that extent.
Dennis also shared receipts of a conversation between himself and Tiana where he confirmed with her multiple times about this Burning Man event. I'll throw that conversation up here so you can pause to read. During the back and forth between him and Tiana, Dennis described the situation from his perspective, saying that he gave her an out to not go to this event, but just needed her to confirm either way.
She said, okay, no worries, I'll go. By the way, she said she framed it on her video saying that I was mad. I was so mad. Like, bro, like I responded professionally here. You can see.
Well, maybe I can see that he's communicating in a professional tone via these text messages. The mention of the 4,000 loss for him could be interpreted as anger from her perspective. So at this point of the story, I kind of see it on both sides and see that it's frustrating for both people. On one hand, he wasn't prepared in ways of accommodation or sleeping arrangements and water, but on the other, she was also last minute yo-yoing with whether she was going to be attending or not. But there's more, so let's keep going. He says that she is just clout chasing and doing her best to frame him in the worst light possible. Tiana mentioned in her video that she had to book the rental car because Dennis's license is expired. He explains that that is true, but all of this paperwork to get his license renewed is in storage, and immediately after she rented the car, he sent her a payment to cover it and stated that he would take care of any additional charges that might pop up. As for the no food and water thing that Tiana also exposed, Dennis threw up some receipts that he claims prove otherwise.
We stopped by a pizza shop in Gerlach. You can see the dates. We made made another stop in Reno. I offered to buy her water. She said she didn't want it. I bought her pizza. I offered to buy her water once again, and she said no. She ended up buying for herself some iced tea. When we got to Burning Man, she realized there was no water, and then she started to panic. Okay, she said she had no food. She had food. Here's the evidence. The pizza shop, 828 Gerlach, Nevada.
So the footage that there is of him saying that there was no water, he said he was just playing that up for the camera. Dennis says that there is just a hate train on him right now, and no matter what he does, people are just going to find a way to make it seem like he's the bad guy. He feels that he has done everything he can to prove himself otherwise, but is at a loss for what else to do. And side note, in regards to the alleged lawsuits that Salvo mentioned that he was going to move forward with using Keemstar's lawyers, Dennis mentions that that would be an immediate conflict of interest as there is already a case open with Keemstar, and it would just make Dennis's case against him better. So that's that on that. The situation with DEFNOODLES keeps going and going, so most likely we will be doing a part 2 of this whole thing. But that is actually going to be it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the Hot Tea channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new uploads. And for now, enjoy some eye bleach.